Let's go!
I was checking out the scouting report, and I don't see nothing but bums. You and your whole entire world know that I am the one. You and your squad ain't got nothing for me. Hey. Your organization is looking stressed, and now that you haters is running from me, I know that you see that I'm highly blessed.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we live with your boy Coach G. Yeah, we live with your boy Monty.
You and your squad ain't got nothing for me. Your organization is looking stressed, and now that you haters is running.
It's episode 11. Welcome into the Rewind, a new episode. Thanks to all of my dogs, 1990 and Chris. If it wasn't for them two, these guys, this wouldn't be possible. If you haven't, please make sure you like, subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Rewind_GSC3, as well as follow us on all social media platforms at the Rewind_GSC3. Man, we got a good episode for you guys tonight. Two really good guests. Appreciate their time. Appreciate their patience for coming on tonight. But without further ado, I'll introduce my co-host. No ordinary co-host. Chicago's finest, Temple alum, 4-time state champion, over 400 career wins in his co-ed coaching career. Coached both football and basketball. Football first, because I don't want to hear his mouth. And he is also in the Newark Hall of Fame. So without further ado, my co-host, Mr. Bryant Garvin, BG. What's good, brother? Good to see you. How you doing? March Madness, what it do?
Hey. Look, March Madness, baby. I've been watching it, been going over both sides, the girls and the boys. And it was one thing that's crazy is that I'm better in the girls' side than in the boys. And I watch more of the boys than the girls. So I can't figure it out. But it is what it is. I'm having a great time. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's officially there are only one perfect bracket remaining. So that goes to tell you that my bracket and yours is done. But I will tell you that what I have not received yet, and that is my dinner that we had made a bet on. But unfortunately, keep hope alive. I know it's coming, and I hope it's not a Hot Pocket Steakum. I hope it's an actual nice dinner, you cheap bastard. But financial advisory is almost here. You're almost there to pass that test. Failed by 1 point multiple times. Bryant, where are we at on that? And what update can you give us on your progress?
I will be better. You're going to get a damn steakum because I said so. And I will be better on this exam. You know, I have a couple more to go, but that's all right. I get it done. I'm going to knock it out. As much as I've been studying, my brain is on French fry. So that's where we are. That's how it's going to get it. And I'm looking forward to this show and seeing our guests.
Yes, two good guests. Our first guest, Brooklyn raised Villanova basketball alum, 1985 national champion under the great Coach Massimino, 1986 NBA 6th-round draft pick. He is the current host of the Big East Rewind. You can catch Chuck and his co-host Sonny on YouTube at the YouTube page at Big East Rewind, as well as wherever you catch your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, as well as on the Sirius XM app. But without further ado, we want to welcome in the great 1985 national champion, Chuck Everson. Chuck, thanks for taking the time to come on Rewind. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Monty. How are you?
All is well. It's March Madness. Sweet 16 kicks off tomorrow. What more can I say, baby? Let's go.
Yeah, I'm with you. The games have been good. There hasn't been too much madness. Not that many upsets so far, but it's still early. We still have some great games to go.
We do. There are no more mid-majors. So Bryant's hilarious take a few weeks ago that there will be a team like McNeese State in the Final Four. That pipe bomb dream is now gone. Back to reality, right, Bryant?
Hey, Chuck, look, I got it the first round because I saw that comment. But yeah. I can't help them with the boom box. And my man, that's the manager, and they helped them win. I just
the $100,000 manager. He's a $100,000 man.
How about it? And all he do is put a big old speaker around his neck. Like, yeah, can I do it?
That's a good gig if you can get it, Bryant.
It is. You know, they didn't offer me that money when I was manager at Eastside, but he is the first manager ever in all of the NCAA to receive a NIL deal, and I'm sure it is announced that he will follow Coach Will Wade to Indiana, so I'm sure his NIL deal only gets better. But I'm in the wrong business. Where do I sign up for that gig or for that type of money? We'll see. Who knows? You like special guests, right, Bryant? Chuck, you may know this person. You guys bleed the same colors.
I know this guy, yeah.
You guys bleed the same colors. Newark Eastside alum, 2002 state championship, first in school history, graduated from Villanova University with a degree in geography while playing basketball for the Wildcats. In his senior year, he helped carry the Wildcats to the best record in a decade with their first Big East regular season title since 1997, earning a #1 NCAA seed, the first in program history. Randy was named Big East Player of the Year, a consensus All-American. Randy was selected 7th overall in the 2006 NBA draft, playing an 11-year career in the NBA with the Minnesota Timberwolves, Washington Wizards, LA Clippers, Utah Jazz, Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder, Brooklyn Nets. Randy has seen firsthand the difficulties for kids growing up in a tough urban environment, prompting him to establish the Randy Foye Foundation, which develops programs and projects aimed directly at improving the lives of children in Newark, New Jersey, where Randy's hometown is. Randy understands the difference a positive role model and nurturing environment can make in a young person's life. Randy is a devoted husband, loving father, sports enthusiast, passionate about Villanova and helping student athletes become the best version of themselves. In his current role as president, he will mentor student athletes, educate, and inform alumni on the positive community and event-driven opportunities at Friends of Nova that Friends of Nova will offer. If you didn't know Randy anymore, here's more stats about the brother. 2004, 2005, all Big East third team. 2004, 2005, first in Big East in steals per game. 2004, 2005, first in the Big East in steals. 2005, all Big East tournament first team. 2005, NCAA tournament all region. 2005, 2006, all Big East first team. 2005, 2006, second in the Big East in points per game. 2005, 2006 Big East Player of the Year, 2005, 2006 consensus All-American first team, 2006 All Big East Tournament first team, and 2006 NCAA Tournament All-Region. Now, without further ado, let's introduce the great. He doesn't need no introduction, but he is a Villanova great. He is the all-time great in Newark history as well as Newark East Side history, Mr. Randy Foye. Big bro, Randy, appreciate you taking the time to come on and rewind and join Bryant and myself and Chuck. What it do, brother? How are you?
Monty, appreciate it, man. Coach Garv, Chuck, appreciate you. I just was on a podcast with Chuck. I think we were at Macy's, right?
We were at Macy's with Carl Banks and Starter.
Yeah, Starter jackets. Pretty cool jackets. I didn't love the color because it looked like Creighton or Seton Hall colors, like a royal blue, but it was a great event. Thanks for the interview, Monty. Always. Love you, little bro. Coach Garv, love you. Like a pops, man. I appreciate everything you have done for me.
No doubt, man. I got one question. As I look at that tie again, I think you still may have it.
I still do have it.
Huh?
Who tied? Did you tie that?
I think I did.
Because I had my speech in my hand. I think we were at a award ceremony.
Yeah, I
you were telling me like, hey, you can't wear baggy clothes. You can't do this. Make sure you. I got some. That's your suit there.
That's his slacks? Oh, no.
Everything is his.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I'm sitting there like,
no.
He looks like me.
Everything there is yours.
Wow. Wow.
I'm just amazed at the tie, how it's so small up top, and it just get wider and wider as it goes down towards the pants.
I don't know how you got into them Bryant Garvin's slacks. My God.
Hey, back in the day, Monty, we used to wear everything 3-4X. At that time, Coach Garv probably was like a 3-4X. I jumped right in, man. Whatever it took for Eastside High, I jumped right into it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And don't make fun of my slacks either. They was in style back then.
They were cool.
Yeah.
It is March Madness. We are approaching a special anniversary, the 40th anniversary of the 1985 Villanova National Championship against Georgetown, April 1st, 1985. Chuck, take us through it. 66-64 at Rupp Arena in Kentucky. Georgetown was coming in as a heavy favorite with the spread of 10. The upset was real. The championship of Coach Massimino was real and alive. Chuck, man, take us through what that feeling was of beating Georgetown and also shocking the world and being crowned a national champion.
Well, it was pretty incredible, actually, because we played them twice that year, and both games were close. One game went to overtime, and the other one was about a 5 or a 7 point game. And so we weren't in awe of Foye paranoia or any of that stuff that was going on back then. You know, that was the thing. You know, listen, you get out on the court with those guys, the game is on for sure. I mean, those guys could play 94 feet for 40 minutes, and it was really a tough battle. But, you know, we came out on top and shocked the world a little bit. You know, it's one of the biggest upsets all time in the NCAA tournament, and they were supposed to be their crowning achievement of being a dynasty and the greatest college team and all that kind of stuff. And we come out. I had a little incident at halftime with Reggie Williams, and we came out in the second half and shot 9 for 10 and shot 79% for the game, which is still a record today. We were the lowest seed ever to win, still a record today. So it was a lot of fun, and I've milked 3 or 4 minutes of game time for 40 years now. I don't know if I can get any more juice out of that, man. It's been a long time. That was my Villanova marketing degree got me through that, believe me when I tell you.
Villanova basketball greatness. Congratulations, Chuck, again, and happy anniversary, 40th anniversary of the 1985 national championship team. April 1st, 1985 it was the date that they won. But we both have 2 Villanova alums, 2 that bleed Villanova and know the program inside and out. Let's talk about Villanova this year, fellas. 19-14 this year, 6 in the Big East. Wasn't a really good year. Lost in the second round of the Big East tournament to UConn this year. The year before that, 18-16, you finished 7th in the Big East. The year before that, you were 17-17 and Coach Neptune's first year as head coach after taking over, 6th in the Big East. Eric Dixon had a really good year, 3rd-team All-American, averaging 23 points per game. That was a career high for him. Coach Kyle Neptune, if you didn't know, was fired after 3 seasons with the team, 54-47 record in his tenure there in 3 years with Villanova. He did take over for Jay Wright after his retirement in 2022. Fellas, there's been a lot of buzz out there in terms of possible candidates to take his spot, from Maryland's Kevin Willard to VCU's Ryan Odom to Northwestern's Chris Collins. Of course, Richard Pitino just took over the Xavier job after Sean Miller left for Texas. Gentlemen, where does Villanova go in terms of his coaching hire, and who do you guys think is going to be the best candidate to come in and bring this program back to not also new levels and new heights in the Big East, but also regiming that team in the nation?
Yeah, Chuck, you want to take this one?
Yeah, load it up for me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll tee you up.
So I mean, listen, I think Willard is playing a little cat and mouse with Maryland. We have to wait and see what's going on. Everybody's been telling us names from Pitino, which obviously is not going to be the guy now, and there was a bunch of names that came out throughout the week, and every time you turn around, it's a different name. So at some point, I think somebody put up online that Jackie Moon was going to be the new Villanova coach. So it's been you don't know what's going to happen, but I know this: if it is Kevin Willard, he would be a good addition, I think, to what we do. We don't know that at all because, again, he's still under contract and is coaching currently with the Maryland Terps, and they're playing this weekend. So you never know what's going to happen. I'm curious to see, like everybody else. And then this way, my phone, and I'm sure Randy's phone is blowing up too with what's going on. We have no inside thoughts, Monty, to this stuff. We have no inside info. We're waiting just like everybody else. Right, Randy?
Yeah. The one thing before, we talk about anything else, Coach Neptune was a great coach. He loved his players. Hardworking guy, one of the hardest working coaches that I have ever seen, from, the hours he put in an office, to the way he loved the institution, the way he was prepared. And, sometimes as athletes and sometimes as coaches, you could do everything in your power to make sure you're prepared and you're ready for the moment, but you could still come up short. My NBA career, I wanted to win a championship. In my college career, I wanted to win a championship, but I never won a championship. But that doesn't, count you out and say that, you're a loser or you can't get things done. With Coach Knapp, he was a great guy. He was a great person, great recruiter, great coach. He did a lot of good things for our community, and he did a lot of good things for the Villanova basketball families. So I just wanted to say that before we jump into anything else. As far as the coach, I trust in our vice president and our director of athletics, Eric Rodell, and the search firm. They're doing their job and making sure we get the right person in there. And we're trying to build this. It's not saying that it's unstable or the foundation is unstable. We're looking for a coach, and there's a lot of chatter around there. There's a lot of text messages, group chats going on with, players from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, the 10s, just asking like, hey, what's going on? To be honest with you, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. And, we're trying to figure this out just like everyone else. But I know that our athletic director, Eric Rodell, and our leadership at the institution with Father Peter, we're going to get the right guy in there that's going to lead us into the future.
That's a good point, because Randy, you are the president of NIL for Friends of Nova, and of course the NIL has become a wild, wild west. Bryant and I have touched on it a few episodes ago. I've went on the record to say that I believe that the NCAA has no rules or structure in place to help this thing navigate. I think it's just become a slaughterhouse. There should be a commissioner of the NCAA in terms of the men's side as well as the football side to put things in place to have balances in terms of these programs, because as we've seen with low major Division I schools like St. Francis, they've now moved to a Division III, and they've been a Division I for the last 20, 25 years. But Randy, for you, what are some of the challenges that you have faced with NIL, and do you see the NCAA at some point adding anything to help relegate this thing over time?
Some of the challenges that I see is that it's a forever changing ecosystem where 2 weeks, there are collectives, we're being policed and there's guardrails up around us when it comes to recruiting. And when student athletes come on campus, can we talk to them or can we not talk to them? And so I think that that's the challenging part, just not knowing from day to day what's going to happen, or, reality week to week, what's going to happen. April 7th, this preliminary agreement with Judge Wilkins from the Ninth Circuit in Northern California, she's going to decide if this House thing settles. 3 different lawsuits, and if these lawsuits settle, there's going to be rules in place. But it does nothing. It just puts some rules in place, but there's still going to be a lot of litigation against universities, against the NCAA. Against the Power 4, Power 2, which would be the SEC and the Big Ten. So there's still a lot of challenges out there. I would think the only way that we're able to regulate anything is that if we collect and bargain. It needs to be representation of student athletes at the table, along with the NCAA, and they need to sit in there with their counsel and talk about what they need, what are the needs and what are the wants, and they need to go through these menus and decide what they want. And if they can end up doing that at a high level, it's over. But there's a lot mixed into this, the Title IX, the employment, and within this settlement that may settle on April 7th, there's no implications of Title IX and employment. So that puts you at risk for future litigation against institutions and states. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there. But at the end of the day, the one thing that you can trust when it comes to Villanova and when it comes to our family and our community, we're going to compete at the highest level in NIL. We're going to do it right. We're going to do it around education. We're going to do it around networking. We're going to do it around charitable organizations. We're going to do it in a way where our alumni are comfortable with us doing it. But to answer your questions, there are challenges across the board, Monty, and we're trying to figure it out as a group. Like I said, daily, weekly, because it's a forever changing ecosystem. But at the end of the day, Villanova is in a great situation to make some noise on the basketball side.
Absolutely. Chuck, let me bring you in here because, of course, back in your day when you played at Villanova, there was no NIL. There wasn't even a thought in terms of paying players for name, image, and likeness. But in your opinion, what limits should be placed on the NIL compensation to prevent college sports from becoming a pay-for-play system?
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Randy, but there's talk of a cap, too. I just recently heard about that, a $22 million cap across athletic programs, not one specific sport or another, but I think that would help. I mean, there's a lot more into it. There's so many arms tangled into this, Monty, that it's going to take a long time to untangle this thing. It's hard to collectively bargain when there's no employees, and it's difficult to put people on a contract when there's no employees. So it's tough. It's not just the NIL either. I think this thing goes hand in hand with the portal. It's free agency every year, and it's creating a difficult situation for the mid majors in particular, and some of the lower D1s. those teams are getting poached this year. It's you could see there was no real big upsets, as we were teasing with Bryant earlier. About him having a mid-major going into the Final Four. I don't know if we're going to see that again if it continues like this. I just think it's got to have some type of rules and regulations, and it almost seems to me, and Randy, correct me if I'm wrong here, is the NCAA kind of went hands off and they just let it ride wherever it went, and it went from name, image, and likeness to pay for play and all kinds of stuff going on that no one really knows about.
Yeah, so the cap, I'm sorry for cutting you guys there. The cap is $20.5 million. Georgia laid out a format of the way that they were going to pay their student athletes. Hats off to you football guys. You'll get 75%, Coach Garvin, since I know you were a Temple alum and you played football there. The football guys are going to get 75% of that $20.5 million cap. The men's basketball team will get 15%. Wow. I think the women's basketball team, as I'm writing this down here, will get 5% of that cap. And then all other varsity sports will get 5% of that cap. So if you think of the numbers, if it's 75% of that, I think football will probably be between $15 and $16 million. They'll take off of that. And then basketball will take the other, I would say, $2.7 to $3 million off of the 15%. Men's basketball, and then women's basketball in certain conferences will take the other 5%. But when you think of SEC, you got to think of gymnastics, you got to think of baseball, you got to think of other things, right? And then 5% will go to basically, let's say, 12 other varsity sports. That's a problem when you think about it, right? And the way we're positioned, we have a beautiful football team. Our coach, Mark Ferrante, he does a great job. But we don't play at the FBS level. But our men's basketball program plays at the highest level. We're considered, they always call it the Power Four, which would be the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 10. They consider us as a basketball conference the fifth power conference. And when you think about the way we can compete, if we're saying to a kid or an agent or someone that's in their inner circle, hey, we have X amount of money to compensate you. They may say at a Power 4 school, we have X amount of money to compensate you. But now the ball is in our court because we can do more around compensating student athletes at the highest level because we don't play football at that level. We don't have the big ESPN deal. We don't have the big Fox deal. We have a big Fox deal for basketball. So going forward, you'll see mid-majors in there. And sometimes they look at the Big East, and they look at the Big East in a way, not where we're a mid-major, but we only have 11 schools, and we're looked at as the Catholic League. So for us, if someone is coming in with 6 or 2.7 million to 3 million, and we're coming in at 6 million, there's no way they're going to be able to compete. So the Power 4 schools are going to have to figure out a way where they circumvent whatever's going on around their cap to make sure they get the basketball programs more money.
Yeah, I've always said this, Rand and Chuck. I said this last week that the big boys, you guys should be in one league by yourself. And you know how they have the NIT tournament, that half the world probably only watch. They can make that for all the mid-major guys because, everybody don't have all this money to spread around through all these conferences. So let the NIT guys have their own separate championship. And when it comes to the portal, if they want to leave or if there's some of the big Power 5 guys that want to go get some of those mid-major guys, then they have the option to do so and then move on up. But yet you kind of save that mid-major league so they could play amongst themselves toward the rights to be able to earn money to go. And I was saying it's a professional league that's went up with those Power 5 guys. So I think all the way around 360 degrees, there's something needs to get done because right now it's just a wild, wild west. It's all over the place, and you can barely keep up. And I don't see how you're able to keep up with all the rule changes and the ecosystem just moving every 24 hours and something else is new. That's a rat race to me. And it's kind of hard for coaches to recruit that way and keep your players. And you got to recruit your own players at the end of each season. And you now they're in a tournament and the portal is now open. And now you got your kids entering portal while you're in the tournament. It's just crazy. And I'm like, all right, I sometimes I would sit back and wish I was coming out during this time, but then I sit back and think again, and I'm like, I don't know if the money is worth it. But at the end of the day, it's crazy, it's wild, and it's something that we got to live with for a while.
Yeah, I think it's out of control when you have the transfer portal open right now, where teams are currently preparing for a Sweet 16 matchup within the next few days, 48 to 72 hours, and you have players that's literally going into the portal as we speak, and coaches having the opportunity that's currently in the tournament to look inside the portal and see what's there. But I think, Bryant, what's your opinion on, obviously, coaches being in the coaching portal? We've seen multiple coaching hires recently within the last few weeks. Some coaches leaving to take bigger jobs, more money, and when you look at Will Wade and his team didn't even get the chance to play the first game yet of the NCAA tournament this year. He takes a job at Indiana. What does that show to you in terms of the future of college basketball, and what things do we need to put in place to prevent these distractions from happening? Because March Madness, it should be all about the team, and we can worry about the transfer portal. We can worry about NIL stuff after the season is over. So that way, once this thing is cut, nets are cut down in San Antonio, let's continue on with the Wild Wild West and what has been.
I mean, I was at Morehouse last year, and when we were recruiting online, and it was just a hot mess, and we had kids all over the freaking place, and it just didn't have no direction on which way to go. And I saw how coaches were recruiting during that particular time, and I was sitting there trying to dive myself back in out there coming from East Side, and it was something that was kind of difficult to keep up with. I personally think you need some mandatory contracts. For everybody, the coaches and the players, to make sure that everything can at least stay in put for at least 2 years at the minimum. You have to do two. So it kind of keeps the flow of traffic at a bare minimum, so nobody will wind up leaving, jumping ship every year. That every 12 months leaving and then in and out, it's just like dating a girl for 1 year, then going to the next one. You just can't keep up with them, and eventually something's going to crash. So you got to maintain some stability within this college basketball and football and all sports, and so we can these kids get to some direction, because everybody's not going to make it to the NFL, the NBA. They have lives to live, and even if you do make it, you have lives to live afterwards. So we got to come to grips with it and come to some rules and regulations and put them in place and make them active and stick to them. But it's going to be a long road before we get to that point.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of something you said there that jumped out at me, I think this was Monty asked, like recruiting your own roster. You're right. You have to recruit your own roster every single year so you can have a high rate of retention. And then the portal is open where kids can jump in the portal, and you got to recruit them. You got to re-recruit them. And then you think about high school, because some people look at high school. I think Rick Pitino had a quote where he said that what he's losing on his team this year at St. John's, no high school kid can replace that. So I'm only looking at kids in the portal. That is unheard of, right? And when you think about the portal, it's more like speed dating, right? Yeah. Before, when we used to recruit, and Coach, you lived this yourself. I know Chuck lived this. I lived this, where it was like a 2.5 year relationship where we built with Coach Wright. I know Chuck built this with Coach Mass. Yep. And now we're sitting here and we're trying to figure out not only the athlete, because we know he's good enough if he's on campus, but we got to figure out his inner circle, right? We got to figure out if he fits our community. Can we trust, this kid on campus? Like, we got to figure out all of these things. And every kid that we have brought into Nova, they have been phenomenal. They have been rock stars there. But at the end of the day, it's speed dating. And everything that's being done is designed that way. It's designed to look at it through a different lens, from a certain perspective, where there could be some type of litigation put up against it to stop it, because they want to cause mass confusion and disruption. So for us, we understand that. I know you guys understand that. Chuck you understand it more than anyone because you kind of live it with us every single day when we change kids every other week. But this is, like I said, all of this stuff that is one word for it for me. And when you sit back and you look at it, everything that's going on is ludicrous because it's a madhouse. But you got to have sane people in the room to make sure that everything's done the right way. And like I said before, I'm not just saying this because you guys are on. I think we're doing it the right way.
You know, the other thing too is, Randy, that, you know, it's the part that people don't talk about. 1,700 kids jumped in the portal for men's basketball in the last 3 days. Wow. All those guys are not going to get picked up.
No,
they're just not. So what happens if you're a Villanova kid, and we'll use Villanova as an example, right? And I get in the portal thinking I'm going to greener pastures, and I don't get a scholarship offer. What happens then? Now you're out. Now you're out of everything. So there's a lot of stuff going on like that. Just because you score 15 points a game at Binghamton, say, and nothing against Binghamton, but we're talking mid-majors, right? Doesn't mean you're going to go to the SEC and get the same numbers, you know. And everybody thinks they're better than what they are until you get there and you go, uh-oh, you know, you have that oh shit moment and you go, oh no, I made a mistake. You know, there are a lot of guys that wind up with no education and with no anything at the end of the day.
Chuck, that's what I'm saying. If you have that two league with NITs and NCAAs, now those guys won't jump ship because now they got something to play for.
Yeah, I like your thought process. I really do. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, it only makes sense now because I'm sitting there like, well, if college have it with Villanova in football, they don't play with the big boys, but yet they play in that particular conference. I don't know if it's changed or not, but at the end of the day, you know, give these kids some opportunities to where they compete at a high level. Their level is mid-major, stay there and play at the NIT for a national title. The big power guys, you can play the big power 5 and NCAAs, and then you can have your crossover. You know, the mid-majors can play some of the big guys and put it early on in their seasons where they want to play 3 or 4 games with the big boys to prove their worth. And then after that, you can use that as a nice little recruit moment. But then you go back to your conference and the mid-majors. I personally think that will work. You know, if Randy, you guys are in that front office, you can possibly bring that up as a solution to getting things done. But yet, you know, if they were sitting there thinking about it, that would be my direction way to go.
Right. For, you know, everyone is a max player, which is crazy to me. Everyone. And I look at it sometime and, you know, we look at it as a team and say, you know, where are the metrics and the analytics, like where are you gauging this from? Just off of what someone is telling you? That's why, Chuck, I said it needs to be some type of collective bargaining. And I know it can't happen because the kids that end up being employees and they're not employees yet. But I think that's the road that is going down. But if you sit back and you have these conversations, everyone is a max player. I played at the highest level. And we know that it's 1, maybe 2 max players. And then there's some mid-level guys. And then there's maybe one guy that they pay a little bit more that don't supposed to make as much so they can throw him in a trade. Everything is done in the NBA. So numbers can match up. 6'8" guy making $13 million. That works because we may have to trade him in 2 years. But when you're in the portal and you're speed dating, the trickiest thing about it, you have to be able to read people. You have to be able to read analytics quickly because everyone's a max player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always said players these days don't get the opportunity to unpack their bags at whatever universities they go to. And it's happening day in and day out. And, you know, until some things are in place or some structure in place to put some laws to prevent these things from happening, it's only going to hurt the game more. The days of recruiting 5-star guys, 4-star guys, those days are over. And how do we get here and how do we move forward and what does that look like? So I look forward to seeing what this lawsuit in the next few days turns out to be in terms of the ruling. Hopefully, in terms of Randy's position as president of NIL, things can be better to bring in a winning formula to not also Villanova, but also to the game of college basketball. Because, you know, right now is the first year in a long time we have no mid-major. And right now, this year's NCAA is the highest viewed NCAA tournament in probably the last 20 years because of what it has been. You have all the top schools that make all the money, that have all the top players. Now we get to see, who's going to cut down the nets in San Antonio in April. But NCAA men's basketball bracket is coming in. Breakdown in Sweet 16. Bryant's horrible take last week didn't turn out to be well. This is the first time there since 2019 that there is no Big East team in the Sweet 16 this year. And other fun facts, it's been 24 years since Ole Miss was in the Sweet 16, 14 years since BYU was in the Sweet 16. And how do we get here? All Big East teams have been eliminated in the second round. Auburn beating Creighton 82-70. Florida beating UConn 77-75. Arkansas beating St. John's 75-76. Bryant, I know you got some smoke to give him because I had St. John's in my Final Four to get to San Antonio this year, but unfortunately, the rivalry between Rick Pitino and John Calipari is alive and well. Calipari 3-2 all-time versus Rich Pitino in the NCAA tournament. They have a history, but Bryant, man, this St. John's team, man, what's when you look at that Arkansas and St. John's game, of course, controversy surrounding Rick Pitino benching his star player, Luis Jr., for the remaining 4 or 5 minutes of that game and resulting in losing. Rick Pitino did come out in his press conference saying that, he played 30 minutes and that's why he sat. But you saw the game. You know what it was. Take me through your reaction to Arkansas's win over St. John's.
Arkansas, it's the portal NIL. Everybody's a portal NIL, but I saw the weaknesses in St. John's. It just came 2 games too later than earlier. The Big East was really not. It's just probably the first time I've seen in the Big East where you had one team that was ranked, and they was ranked 6th in the country, I think, and then now they exit after the second round. I mean, that's just unheard of. But the Big East was down tremendously this year. That's why I had them not winning the Big East. Against Creighton. Creighton did well, but then they exited too. So the Big East struggled this year. UConn was the team the past 2 years, but he would have jumped off winning a national title back to back without the NIL. No, it just would have never happened. It's just what it is, and you see what happened to him this year because half his team just got up and left, and he's going to have a whole new team next year. It's just getting stupid to me, the way things are. And we got a Final Four here coming up. You can basically almost flip a coin. You have Auburn was the team that's like 25, 26 years old. You have Houston with 24 and 25-year-olds. They were older than Randy when he first got drafted. So it just makes no sense to me. And I personally feel slated because I finished playing at 20. And these guys are 4 and 5 years older than me, and they still playing college basketball. It's just, I don't understand it, but yet this is where we are. It's not going to change. They just need to fix some things and get it going. But I'm shocked with the Big East. Big East was a powerhouse, like a major powerhouse. Now, money rules, and any conference can be a power. BYU is. I never thought that they'd be in a Sweet 16, but hey, shame on me. I really didn't look close to them, and they just happened to be in the right bracket. I think this is Houston's year. I've said it in the first one. I'm going to say it again because they're an older team. They're 25 years old, and they've been there. So Duke is fresh, young. Everybody's high on Duke, but I think they're too young, and I don't think they're going to beat the older guys. It's just my opinion, and I'm just going to stick to it, and I'm going to go all the way with Houston.
Okay. Chuck, take me through it. Sweet 16 matchups. What teams do you see that you look forward to that you think can move on to the Elite Eight? I know we got Auburn and Michigan on Friday night. Michigan State, Mississippi State, Florida taking on Maryland, who won on a buzzer beater last game against Colorado State, Arkansas and Texas Tech, Duke and Zona, BYU and Alabama, Houston and Purdue, as well as Tennessee and Kentucky. Now, Bryant, you did get that right in your bracket because you had those 2 teams meeting in a Sweet 16, but you had Tennessee moving on to Elite Eight. But Chuck, take me through some of these games that's coming on for Sweet 16 and what games stand out to you and who's moving on to Elite Eight.
Well, in the first bracket, you got Auburn and Michigan and Ole Miss, not Mississippi State, Ole Miss.
Oh, shit, Ole Miss. Shame on me.
Yeah, and Michigan State. So you could have Michigan State, but I don't think that's how it's going to go down. I think you're going to see Auburn moving forward out of that group. And then Florida, Maryland is a great matchup, as is Texas Tech, Arkansas. Texas Tech, Arkansas, I think maybe you're going to see Calipari get to the next one. but I think Maryland gets knocked out by Florida. Florida's been a hot club. They look really, really good, and I think you're going to see Florida going from that group. Duke versus Arizona is going to be a great game too. I think the young kid Cooper Flagg and some of his cronies on that team, some of his running mates, they look really, really good. And you're right, they're very, very young. I think they get by Arizona, and I think BYU upsets Alabama. And when you got Duke going from that group, and then Houston, Purdue, and Kentucky, Tennessee. Now, the most intriguing game there is the Kentucky-Tennessee game. Big SEC matchup. Both teams are hot clubs. I kind of like Coach Barnes over the new coach at Kentucky. And I agree with you, Brian. I think Houston comes out of that group, and I think Houston cuts down the nets.
Yeah, Tennessee is 0-2 this year versus Kentucky. This would be the third time that they'll match up this year. Brick Barnes, of course, has the edge in the NCAA tournament, but don't sleep on Kentucky. Tennessee gets it done. Randy, bringing you in because you know what it takes to get to Elite Eight. You've been there. You smelled the success in the NCAA tournament. What games are you looking forward to seeing this upcoming weekend, as well as who do you got advancing to the Elite Eight?
I can't really see this bracket here. But the one thing that I can see, I can see it now. I'm sorry. So the Arkansas, Texas Tech, I'm gonna go with Texas Tech. Their coach is really good, and he can coach his tail off. I have Florida winning the whole thing. But I think that, and I think they're battle tested. I think that last game against UConn, they showed a lot of class and being down and coming from behind and winning that game. So I got them over Maryland there. The Michigan State, Mississippi. How could you go against the great Tom Izzo? And then you have Michigan, Auburn, easily Auburn. Even though Michigan have two studs, but we got a Jersey kid on there that's really good. I think he went to Hudson Catholic.
Catholic.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go against him. He's playing really well, but Michigan has two really good
talented
players.
bigs. Yes.
Yeah, I think those guys are both first round picks too. So this Duke Arizona game, I think Duke wins that game. It's going to be tough. And it's going to go down to the wire, but I think Duke got that. BYU, Bama. I don't know, man. I like BYU. BYU, when you think of it, they're connectors, connection from high school, college to the pros. So they have figured things out. And this is the way when we think about NIL and we're thinking about building like a farm system, BYU has figured it out already. So kudos to them. Houston and Purdue. Houston all day. And then this UK Tennessee game, I'm gonna go with Tennessee, even though Kentucky beat them two times this year. Yep. I'm gonna go with Tennessee because I do not believe third time is the charm. So I'm gonna go with Tennessee. They're gonna be ready. They can't sleep as we speak. They're ready to go. They're locked in practice, and they're focused on this Kentucky team. And like when you get to this point of the season, everyone understands X's and O's. Everyone understands what you're going to do. So it's just all about being able to shoot the ball, defend, and just understanding, you got to have heart. You got to have heart coming to all these games.
Yeah, this BYU Alabama game will be pretty good to see as far as the guard matchups. I know Richie Sanders from BYU, averaging over 17 points a game. He's been phenomenal for BYU in the tournament. I'm looking to see what he's going to do. We know Bama's well coached. We know that they've had a good year in the SEC, and this is March. This is where you bring the best out. But I'm just shocked that all you guys on here are just disrespecting Michigan as if we're just some crumb bum team out of the Big Ten who didn't just win the Big Ten championship, who hasn't just beat obviously a Texas A&M team in a tough game, which Bryant had Texas A&M beating Michigan. Shame on him. So we got Godden, the big fellow 7-footer that played really well last game. Subbing in and out, foul trouble, but Coach Dustin May can coach, fellas. I don't know if you guys seen the tape, but this guy knows his stuff, and he's a great X&O guy. Let's not forget he took Florida Atlantic to the deep run in the NCAA tournament last year. So go blue, baby. Michigan over Auburn. Let's go. But Chuck, Randy's got Florida winning it all. Who do you have winning it all? Who's cutting down the nets in Houston? I'm sorry, San Antonio.
Well, you were a spoiler alert. Houston, I have Houston cutting the nets down. I agree with Bryant. Which, now that I know Bryant's track record from last week, I don't know if I should change my mind or not. I'm listening to you guys and I'm going, man, Coach, I'm beginning to wonder about you, Coach. Are you all right over there?
Look, man. I just threw that out as a hunch. I had a good hunch for that first round, and I was right the first round. I really was, but they just couldn't hold the boombox just couldn't hold it.
Well, there was no way McNeese State was making a run, brother. I'm sorry to tell you that. No way.
That's my bad because with all this stuff going on, you don't even know what kind of caliber team they really have. It's impossible. It's like last year you had a bunch of Cinderellas. Now you just have hopes and maybes. I just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you sticking with your Final Four pick? You still staying with Houston?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm going off of the past 2 years. Those guys, it's just an old team. I would feel embarrassed to sit there and have some 25-year-olds playing against some 19-year-olds and lose that game. I just not going to do it. These guys been playing basketball since before COVID. And it makes no sense. To sit there, you've been there before COVID. You're here 5 years after COVID, and you're going to lose to some kids that's coming in as 19 that just got there?
Yeah. It's crazy because when you look at Kansas, you look at DeJuan Harris, the guard for Kansas. He's been at the program since 2019. I mean, it doesn't make no sense. And Bill Self, that's just been his guy. But shifting gears to NCAA women's basketball, if you didn't know, recently Juju Watkins, USC star guard, suffered a season-ending ACL tear. She will undergo season-ending surgery. USC right now is 30-3 this year. Juju averaged over 23 points per game, 6 rebounds, shooting 42% from the field. And this US team right now, as the number one seed for another year, it's been 2 years in a row. USC's been number one going into the tournament. This one hurts. This one blows for USC. But Bryant, what does this do for USC for the rest of this tournament? And do you have faith that they can beat Kansas State on Saturday?
Well, it's going to be tough because Randy knows this firsthand that when you lose one of your five and you put in a new person there, it's hard to keep that nucleus together once you're so used to having that person there. It's going to be tough for them to continue all the way on unless they played without it before. I can't see it. It sucks that this was their opportunity to get to a certain point, but I don't see it happening now, and it's unfortunate. Randy's been there in high school and in college. I mean, as one time, I think Randy that you had to play the 4 when you had some injuries to your teammates. So he has firsthand experience on how that was. And it was a tough road for those guys. So, and he had the same experience in high school, and he wound up playing a 4 then. So, they put him at the 4. They put Randy at the 3, the 2. Randy was just that, he was that versatile that he can, and he was used to it because he did in high school. So, it was something interesting to see. And after watching those guys go down and still was capable of winning, it's a test to his leadership. So. But it's to win it all without those guys, it's just I don't see it happening, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, this one right here sucks. I did have USC and UConn matchup in the Elite Eight. I don't think we get to see that this year with the loss of Paige Buckets. She had an injury last year for Juju Watkins. But Randy, this ACL injury, you've seen it firsthand. It happens in all levels of sports, high school, college, and the NBA. Good thing that Juju is a sophomore, but it's a long road ahead. But what was your takeaway from Juju as she suffered her season-ending ACL tear?
Yeah, well, for one, blessings to Juju. I hope that wish her nothing but a speedy recovery. But you can't replace 30 points a game, a night. You're going to have to do it by committee, and her teammates are going to have to step up, and that's going to be a tough task. I think that as a group, as a coach, you put your best players out there. Someone's going to step up and play well, but as you get into the thick of things and you start playing these really good teams, USC is not going to have enough. Juju, whenever it was a tough shot, they needed to be made or play to be made, she was always there, defensively and offensively. That's just a lot, and that's an emotional hit to the team with her going down. So, best of luck to Juju. I know she's going to come back stronger, but good luck to USC because that's going to be a tough task to win these next few games without her.
Yeah, you can catch USC and Kansas State March 29th, 8 p.m. on ESPN. Chuck, this has been an interesting NCAA women's tournament. We've had Maryland in a double overtime win over Alabama. We got a North Carolina and Duke rivalry still alive. They're facing off in the Sweet 16.
Yep.
My pick to win it all, Notre Dame Fighting Irish after a win over Michigan. But here we are. This is where we at. Sweet 16 getting ready to kick off. Elite Eight almost approaching. Chuck, what's some teams that you see in this women's bracket right now that you look forward to seeing in Elite Eight as well as advancing to the Final Four in Tampa?
Well, you know what? I can't believe nobody's mentioned our Philly homegirl, Dawn Staley, and her South Carolina. I mean, listen, she was devastating as a player. She was unbelievable. And I believe she was a Temple girl. Isn't that right, Coach?
Yeah, she was there coaching there for a while I was, I think I was a student assistant at that time. That's when my coaching career began, and I want to say in 1992.
Right.
So yeah, she was there for quite some time. I used to sit down and talk to her and Coach Cheney about X's and O's and sit down there because I was a two-sport athlete. So going in and sitting there and talking to her and then talking to Cheney at 5 o'clock in the morning.
That had to be cool.
It was bananas. It was her in the evening time and Cheney at 5 o'clock in the morning after we worked out. And he was a live wire in the morning, like 5:30 in the morning. This man was out there yelling and screaming like he was crazy. I said, that's just too early for me. But that was a great time and a great place to be in the early 90s. I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah. And Monty, getting back to the women's bracket, UCLA looks good. They got the big kid in the middle. They've been playing very, very well. I think that's going to be a tough matchup with Notre Dame and UCLA. That's going to be a great game. And I like UConn. I think USC gets by K-State even without Juju. I think they find a way to get it done. But then when they run into UConn, it might be done for them. I mean, which would be admirable. I think that I think you're going to see its next girl up, and they're going to be ready to go. They had a couple of people stepped up in this last game that looked really, really good, and it's a horrific accident or injury that occurred, and it's always tough. But you know what? Coach Massimino used to tell us the true character of a person comes out during times of adversity, and this kid has got a lot of character, and this kid is a champion. She's a warrior. She's going to be fine. She's going to come back stronger than ever. And set the whole place on fire when she comes back. I don't want to play her if I was playing. I wouldn't want to play against her when she gets back. That's for sure.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Bryant, who do you got advanced to the Elite Eight, and who is your champion in Tampa cutting down the nets on April 6th?
Well, I have to change this now because because I had USC winning it all.
What world do you live in?
Hey, look, I love the underdog. I love the underdog. I take the underdog.
Wow.
I love upsets because I jump around in my house along with them. It's just what it is. But at this point now, since she was hurt, I'm going to take UConn in one bracket, and I'm going to take LSU and UConn playing against each other. With UConn coming out, and I see a South Carolina and a UConn final. I think that's something that everybody want to see.
USC over Notre Dame. I'm sorry, South Carolina over Notre Dame.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody wants to see South Carolina versus UConn now. It's just it's made for TV. You got the two best coaches that's been around. He's won numerous national titles. Yep. So Dawn has won a few national titles. What better game is there for you to see? It's to see two national title championship coaches going against each other head for head with healthy players.
Okay, and who cuts down the nets?
I'm going to say South Carolina.
Okay. Randy, do you agree or disagree?
No, I agree with the take on South Carolina playing North Carolina in South Carolina playing UConn in the championship, but I think UConn cuts down the Nets.
Oh,
I watched them play twice, and I'm gonna stay with the Big East. I'm unbiased in this area, but I watched them play twice this year.
Got to go with the Big East.
Yeah, Paige is phenomenal, but the supporting cast around Paige is really good. And last year, watching them play against our women's team, their front court was a little thin. They wasn't as tall. This year, they have two 6'5", 6'6" girls that can compete against South Carolina. And when I watch South Carolina this year, I feel like they don't have their team is not as strong as it has been in the past. So I'm gonna go with UConn. I'm gonna be biased and stay in the Big East.
Ooh, Bryant, boy, I tell you,
we all of us can't choose freaking UConn. It's just what it is. I gotta go with Philly. She's part of the Big East. Philly all the way.
I'm taking Coach Ivy and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Coach Ivy, let's make history. Let's do it. Fellas, I don't know if you guys heard of this, but Bryant has a new hot take that comes out every episode, and that is Bryant's hot take. It's a segment where Bryant picks his video of or play of game of choice and breaks it down. But Chris, give us the intro to this so I can introduce Randy and Chuck to Bryant's hot take. Now, Randy knows Bryant very well. Bryant knows Randy really well. Randy has been in the locker room while Bryant has been pissed off, angry, veins pointing out his head, smashing headboards, smashing boards, getting technical fouls, yelling at officials. When you see Bryant at 10, it's not good. But this video here, Chris, play it. Bryant, take us through it. And fellas, I want you to take after.
Play! Y'all knock a motherfucker shit loose! Do you hear me? We ain't starting off none of that soft shit! If so, sit your punk ass over there! Do you hear me? Fire this motherfucker up and tear their ass up, man! Line it up!
Bryant, your hot take.
So now, I was in a heated discussion today. And, a lot of people feel like, that was an outstanding coach, along with myself, because I understand what he's trying to do. If he had a few males and most females were offended by the wording that he was using, not understanding that football is a violent sport. So you have to do certain things, and these kids are going to go through certain adversities while they're playing. My opinion that this coach was okay because I myself had acting like a maniac, and I know Randy Foye and Coach Massimino, you guys have heard them go bananas during the course of the game. And I know you're older, and I know those kids were younger. My coaches back in the day, they were 10 times worse than this guy was. What is your take on what you think about this particular coach?
Well, I'll go first, Randy. Well, first I have to say that Coach Massimino never once yelled at anybody or used any profanity whatsoever, ever. So I really, it's foreign. It's a foreign concept to me. I don't know. And I may or may not have been on the end of a lot of his non-swearing. So, listen, it's football. The problem today is, we can go into this too, but the problem today is the kids are not as mentally tough as they were when Randy played, when I played, when you guys played. It's a little bit different animal. And you're right. I don't think people understand that sometimes you have to get kids amped up. Maybe he could have used other words. I don't have a problem with it. If my kid was on that team, I wouldn't have said boo to anybody. I would have just, let's go play. Let's get out there. Let's play hard. I don't have an issue with how he tried to amp up his kids.
Mm-hmm. Randy,
my take: knock a mother effer ish loose. I understand the philosophy, but I think at that age, and I think this is where it gets lost in translation with the way Europeans do things to the way Americans do things. I think early on it's developing, right? And teaching kids and walking them through things And I think as you get older, as you compete and you start hitting with equipment on, I think that's when, that vulgar language should be used within when they turn into young men. But it looked like some toddlers there. And to say knock a MFer ish loose, like I said, I understand the philosophy, but I think when you have kids, especially when they're younger and they're trying to develop and learn the game, it has to be fun. And I'm not a soft parent here, but I believe in teaching the technical and the tactical side of things and pushing them to the extreme when they're doing conditioning and things like that. But you said it the right way. Football is a violent sport. Basketball is a tough physical skill sport. So for me, I understand the philosophy. Would I have worded it a little different? Absolutely. But definitely understand the message.
Yeah, my philosophy behind it, because of me playing on both sides of it, I thought it was just a timely matter type conversation that was quick, right before a game. In practice, doing football, I don't think you get that type of motivation because you're teaching techniques and all that other stuff. So the message is a little bit different when you're going through those motions. But right before a game is just an amped up thing, and I think that's basically this was like a 30-second segment to get going, and then after that, then everything else is X and O's. That's my opinion of it. The choice words behind it, he probably could have, the only thing that I didn't like was the knock the MF and the head loose, and that I didn't like that part. But yet he could have said it in a different way. He could have used some curse words in a different way, and that was just a little bit out of line. But other than that, the motivation and message, I got what he was trying to do, and that sport is definitely dangerous. And if you go in there soft and timid, things are going to happen. So at the end of the day, he's got to get it rocking and got to get it cracking.
All for a good pregame speech, all for a good comeback second half, halftime speech in the locker room. Nothing like it. I know both of you guys have had it. All three of you guys have had it. This week's segment of Rewind of the Week, I will be highlighting some important individuals. Chris, get us into it. On this week's edition of Rewind of the Week, I will be giving a very good intro to all the beautiful women celebrating History Month. If you didn't know, March is celebrated as Women's History Month, a time to recognize and celebrate the contributions of women to history, culture, and society, with International Women's Day being on March 8th, serving as a focal point. The theme for Women's History Month 2025 is Moving Forward Together, Women Educating and Inspiring Generations, which celebrates the contributions of women in education, mentorship, and leadership. My first woman that I would like to highlight on Women's History Month is no other than Randy Foye's daughter, Mrs. Paige Foye, current junior for Red Bank Catholic Girls Soccer. She is a forward, verbally committed to the University of Maryland. This past season, she has 35 points, 16 goals, and 3 assists, scoring hat tricks against Shore in a 4-0 victory, a hat trick against Marlborough in a 4-1 victory, and has scored in every game this past season except one, with an 8 wins and 3 losses on the year. I know for a fact, senior year, all hell will break loose, and as the great words of Jim Ross, business will be picking up. Randy, your Paige is getting ready to walk into her senior year at Red Bank Catholic. She's had a great junior year, scoring a career high in goals. What do you see for Paige going into her senior year, and how excited are you with her on the journey of recruiting and trying to find, of course, Maryland's a verbally committed home, but in finding a home to advance her to get her to the next level?
Yeah, that's a proud dad moment. When we were traveling as a family, and I was playing in the NBA, all of the attention was focused on me and, my well-being. And, I apologize all the time talking about this because I felt like I was there, but you're always worried about what's next. You're always worried about defending James Harden, Bradley Beal, Dwayne Wade, Chauncey, you name it, the best in the world, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, played them all. So my mind is somewhere else, and my family has always been there for me. And to be able to finish playing and putting all my time and effort into what my family needs and what the girls need on this journey of Paige being this good soccer player like her mom. It wasn't all, cut out to what we thought it would be in the beginning. I just thought, like, with our name and, what we were doing, in basketball, it just happened that way in soccer. But like I said earlier, it's more of a technical, tactical with a lot of work ethic in between and patience. And Paige had that because early on, she didn't play. She was the worst player on her team. But the one thing that we knew as a family was that if you continue to put the work in, you continue to stay focused, and you do the little things, the nuances, the little things to make sure that you're always prepared and you're pushing yourself to the max. She did it. There's times where, I could be in the house and I could be laying down watching TV and I could hear the ball hitting against the wall downstairs. It could be times where I could hear music playing and then I walk somewhere and she's doing abs and she's doing squat and she's in the weight room that we have downstairs and her two other sisters, Penelope and Pilar, are following her. And, just to see, Paige get her flowers at an early age, and there's still a ton of work to be done. It's something that makes me emotional. And Chuck, how I played at Villanova. I'm not an emotional guy. Coach Garvin, me from East Side and being from North. I'm just not an emotional guy from everything that I have seen in my life. But seeing my kids compete and win, lose, or draw, no matter what, they're always saying, what's next and how do I get better? That's something that moves me in a different way. Like Paige right now, she's in Miami. She's playing for the Puerto Rican U17 national team. They advanced out of the first round, and now they're in training camp in Puerto Rico to go to Nicaragua to play against Canada, I think Panama, and I'm sorry, Paige, if you see this, there's another team there, and I no disrespect to the other team, but if they get out of that, they go to Morocco for the U17 World Cup. That's something that I couldn't even have imagined when we started this journey 6 years ago. So to be able to see Paige, take these steps and commit to Maryland and have all these different, big time Power 4 schools going after her, it's just something where when you think about it, it's like cliche, Monty, sometimes it's like, oh, hard work pays off. It really does. And I watched it, not only in my career, but I watch it with Paige every single day, and I watch it with her sisters because in soccer, nothing is given. You either can play or you can't.
Yeah, a fact.
So I'm proud of her.
I'm shocked. I'm really shocked that she is not going to Villanova. That there, you said Maryland. I'm like, oh wow, why did she choose Maryland?
NIL.
Can't blame her.
Can't blame her.
I love Villanova and everything that they do. And I hope that she changes her mind and say, hey, I want to commit and go to Villanova. But when we went through the process, they offered her, everything you can imagine.
Right.
They get her. Yeah. When you think of it, you just look at what we wanted. They just checked every box, And, I have a great relationship with Samar, who's the head coach at Villanova. Mm-hmm. She told us, Paige is not this type of player. These are the schools. This is the conference. You look at the Big Ten and the SEC. Mm-hmm. And we talked to her. She called us. She helped us. She talked to us about coaches. Samar is awesome. And I hope one of my kids end up going to Villanova to be coached by Coach Samar. But at the end of the day, when you think of these seismic changes of these conferences, mm-hmm. Maryland, the Big Ten, and the SEC plays a huge role in the way they do things around women's sports, especially with these roster caps. With Maryland saying, "Hey, we're going to go in and give X amount of scholarships. We're going to take you from 14 to 21, then to 24, then 28." That's just hard to pass up, and it's her dream. It's not mine. At the end of the day, if it was up to me, I would say, "Shut up, you going to Villanova?" But it's her dream. Yeah, it's her dream. It's not mine. It's just like you guys wanted me. We had Duke, we had North Carolina, we had Florida, right, and we had Seton Hall. You guys were telling me to go to Seton Hall so I could stay home, and I said, "Well, I'm going to Villanova."
It wasn't me saying going to Seton Hall. Because I was trying to get you to go to Temple.
Yeah.
I was, I
You
was
said
like,
to me,
yo,
if I go anywhere in Philadelphia, you said if you go anywhere, make sure that you go to Temple.
yeah,
And I met Coach Wright, and the rest is history. We all met Coach Wright, and the rest is history. Even Coach Hill being at Seton Hall, and now he ended up being the associate head at Villanova with me for 3 years. So,
yep.
It's her
Full
decision.
circle moment.
Yeah. Surreal
Congrats. Congrats, Paige. Senior year awaits. Kick ass down there in Florida. Kick ass over there in Puerto Rico. Win the U17 World Cup. Let's make history. Let's keep going. Let's highlight Chuck Everson's daughter, Dr. Kathleen Everson, played at Bryant, has a master's and doctorates from St. John's University, and is now working with athletes in the world of sports. Now, Chuck, can you put on the record and say you'd rather wish Kathleen gone to Villanova than to St. John's?
She actually almost went to Villanova, and much like what Randy said about the soccer coach there, Harry Peretta, said to me, brought me in his office and Kathleen and said, "Hey, look, we're going to come watch you play." She was kind of an in-between kid. She was kind of between a 3 and a 4. And he said, "We're going to watch you play, but at the end of the day, we'll see you. We'll see you. We'll meet back here after the AAU season." We did that. Felt that she wasn't big enough to play the 4 on that level, and said to her, "Hey, look, if you don't like your scholarship offers, you can come here. I've got 15 scholarships. I only use 12. And I will guarantee that you walk out of here with your master's." She didn't want to go to the gym and see our picture on the wall every day, because when Randy first started playing there was a big mural of our entire team. And so she goes, "I didn't want to see your picture every day." So she wound up going to Bryant, had a great college experience there. And now she's a professor at St. John's, and she's a doctor. Like I said, she's got her doctorates. She's teaching psychology at St. John's, and now she's starting to work with athletes, which I wish we had somebody like her, performance coach, I guess they call it, when we were playing, because I might have not told the complete truth about Massimino's yelling. So yeah.
You think I would believe that?
Yeah.
Congratulations to Dr. Everson, kicking ass and taking names at St. John's. Last but not least, because I damn sure don't have a daughter, Coach Bryant Garvin's daughter, Jalen, my god sister, Jalen Garvin, Drexel University alum in architectural engineering, assistant superintendent currently at Turner Construction. Jayla is also a proud Zeta and is always repping her colors, blue and white. Bryant, man, we know Temple wasn't the place to be for engineering. You wanted her to go to a top engineering school in the country. She did. She got accepted to NJIT as well. Take us through that process and Jayla choosing Drexel, and fast forward to where she is now, kicking ass in the engineering world.
Well, it started off in the basketball world, and after a while that she said she wanted to be a little girly girl. So I was like, all right, you want to be a girly girl, you don't want to play basketball no more. But guess what? We getting ready to focus on the academics. So she stopped playing basketball in the 8th grade, and we got down into the sciences and math. And for whatever reason, that she basically took over the architectural piece from it, and kind of took a liking to it, and became this engineer after 2 years in high school. And she, wound up taking Calc 3 as a senior in high school, and became this educational nerd. And then now she's an engineer at Turner Construction in Philly. And it's one of those things that, you're gonna blink. I'm gonna blink my eyes, and she gonna make more money than I ever seen in my lifetime. She probably catch up to Foye eventually. And look, I need her. Yeah, so she's doing her thing, and catch with Paige and all the rest of those. Man, I'm super proud of everybody's daughters doing their thing, and it's a great thing to see these kids grow up and blossom and becoming something special. I know they have their own challenges during this era, in their teens, in their 20s and 30s. But my hat's off to them, because we basically developed 3 tough girls, and they're doing some great thing. And my hat goes off to both of you guys, and Jayla, my hat goes off to you as well, and just keep moving and keep grinding because we're all proud of you.
Absolutely. Shout out to all three women. I know you guys are proud fathers to see some of the hard work that you guys put in pay off because, it's not easy being coached or mentored by Bryant Garvin. Boy, I tell you that firsthand. But, Randy's a proud example. Jayla's a proud example. And I'm trying to live up to that hype. But we got more work to do.
Hey,
Randy,
I just wanted to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Now, Randy, was I that psychotic? Was I that crazy?
Dude, I can't tell Chuck this, but Chuck, I was a difficult kid.
I can't believe that, actually.
I was a difficult kid, and I came from probably one of the toughest backgrounds that, we really don't talk about. But I have done some things where I'm not proud of, where Coach Garv had to, get me out of juvie a couple times. I was running with the wrong crowd a couple times, and I was out there. I was a kid that I was infatuated with the street life, and I was only on my grandmother's roof, and she really couldn't stop me from doing what I wanted to do. Just being a part of, the street life. So Coach Garv became the first, before the Jay Wrights came in, before any of these guys came in, he was the first male, figure where I couldn't intimidate him, or if he said something to me and I knew he was serious. Like, I would never say anything to Coach, especially at that time when I was smaller. If he said something, he meant it. And, his job, our team was so crazy because we had kids from France, from Africa, and we were one of the best teams in the state and one of the best AAU programs. And I was walking around like I was the big man on campus and cutting class, not going to class. And our coach got fired, and Coach Garv took over, and he was like, listen, you ain't doing this no more. Like, this ain't your team no more. This is my team. And we went from, you can't say them no more, but we ran line drills, we ran stairs. We went from the first floor to the fourth floor over and over and over. We never seen a basketball. And he put discipline in. And when he came in and put discipline in, that's when my career as an athlete and as this guy who I knew what I wanted. It took off because he gave me what I wanted at that time. He wasn't a professional athlete, but he was a collegiate athlete at a really high level. He gave that to me, and I ran with it. But he had a lot of choice words within our, and I would go back at him, but no, I would actually go back at Coach T. Mm-hmm. And then when I would go back at Coach T and say certain things, if I would go too hard, Coach Garv would jump in and basically, put the iron fence down, like, all right, that's enough, kid, or you're going to have to see me in the back room with nobody in there, and we're going to have to fight. So Coach Garv was definitely a mentor to myself, just around, he put guardrails up around the program to help all of our guys go D1 and get their high school degrees.
Yeah, it was one thing that I just wanted, when we first started off, Monty, you don't know that I picked up a chair and threw the shit across the classroom and almost knocked Pierre and Randy's head off because they was pissing me off and they wouldn't shut the hell up. So I picked up a chair and I looked at it, I said, oh shit. Almost knocked their head off. That was by mistake, but hey, whatever works, because it was my thing is basically I knew his potential. I knew where he could go. I knew where Pierre could go and the rest of the guys. It wasn't just about him. It was about the people that was outside of him. And, and Caesar was a great kid. I knew he was, but it wasn't just about Caesar. I had to block everyone within his circle off so he can stay focused.
There was a lot of gang violence in our school. That's when, everybody, it was a mixture then of Bloods and Crips. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the high courts and independent courts, a lot of them wasn't repping a certain side yet. It was different. So it was fights, it was stabbings, it was all of that. And I wouldn't say I was in the middle of any of that, but I was running with kids that was close to that. And Coach Garv blocked those kids from having access to me at certain times. If I was in school, it was okay. We were in class, it was okay. But anything outside of school, Coach Garv made sure he drove me home. And when he could, he made sure he did everything around it to put guardrails up where I couldn't get in trouble. And I slipped through the cracks a couple times, but Coach Garv early on, when he can like get up and down and run, he used to dunk the ball. You know, he used to practice with us. He used to be ready to fight. Like, you do something, like it was tough, you know. And I'm happy I was able to do this with you guys. But you know,
Always.
Villanova don't see that side of me now because you know I'm all buttoned up as a businessman and I'm representing an institution. You know, but you know where I come from. You know, it's a real place, and you know if you're not careful, you can lose your life. And because of Coach Garv, he put me in a situation where I didn't lose my life because I listened. So I appreciate that, Coach.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Randy, I did put a Q&A into our sports group that we have on Facebook. A few members of the group did chime in terms of questions they wanted to ask. I gave them my word that I will ask those questions and get them answered for them on tonight's episode of The Rewind. But first question comes in from our guy, Anthony Badger, the MVP of the group that holds it down. His question was, best player that you played against in high school, college, and in the pros?
It was two guys that I was like, I can't do nothing with them. Like, why am I even here? And those two guys shaped my career playing against them. And in high school, I really felt like no one was like at that level. You know, I never played against DeJuan Wagner. He was a year older than me. I know he was a really good player, and I know he was the best in Jersey and the best in the country, but we never got a chance to play against each other. I always thought that would be a pretty good matchup, but playing against Ben Gordon in the semifinals of the Big East tournament, he had 29 points, and that was my defensive assignment. When you say shoot, pass, and dribble, and strong as an ox, and low to the ground, it was nothing that I can do with Ben Gordon in college. Pros, I got Ben Gordon back when we played Chicago. I was a man by then, and I scored the game-winning shot on him. I hit him with a nice move. You can see the highlights. Just mutual respect there. Great guy. In the pros playing, Dwayne Wade. Low to the ground, strong, probably a half an inch taller than me. Can post 6'11" wingspan. I have a 6'7" wingspan. He have a 6'11". Can grab the basketball like this, dunk the ball. D Wade was a problem, man, and he inspired me, to play the way that I play, slashing through the lane, shooting, and all that. But after I cracked my knee, I had to turn myself into a shooter. So because I wasn't as bouncy, as I was my first year, so turned myself into a shooter. But playing against D Wade, I wouldn't say that it gave me nightmares, but it puts you in a space where it's like, yeah, I got stuff to work on this summer.
Next question comes from our guy, Mike Williams in the group. His question was, if you didn't go to Nova, what other school was in your top 2?
I think it was the bad boy persona of Cincinnati. If you guys remember Cincinnati back then, it had Bob Huggins. I think Kenyon Martin just left, and he was the number 1 pick. They would come to our practices. Cincinnati would come to our practices at the Y Union for AAU. And then they would come to our high school practices my first 2 years at Eastside. Cincinnati would be sitting in Eastside in the old rickety bleachers, just sitting there. And so they kept telling me, like, you're going to be Kenny Saddlefield. And if you guys don't know who Kenny Saddlefield is, he's a phenomenal guard. I think he went to St. Raymond's, if I'm not mistaken. He's handle, shoot. He could do a little bit of everything. He went to Cincy. And also they had Jordans. And then I thought Billy Donovan was pretty cool. He got a chance to coach me when I was at Oklahoma City. We went to the Western Conference Finals with him as our coach there. He was really cool. But I thought those were going to be the places. And then it was like Duke and North Carolina was there. But, I had to wait to the last minute to get my grades. So they were saying, like, hey, if you ain't got the grades, then you're going to have to redshirt or come off the bench. So I was going with places that I thought I could play and have an impact on the team right away.
Shout out to those guys asking questions. There are some more, but I know we wrap it up on time. Chuck, Big East Rewind. Tell the people where they can find you, where they can find the Big East Rewind, and where to find you on social media.
Big East Rewind, you can find us on YouTube, on the SiriusXM app, and wherever you get your podcast, just put Big East Rewind in the search bar and we'll come up. Same thing on social media, TikTok, IG. We have a Facebook page. We have all of that stuff. So just look for Big East Rewind and you'll find us.
4 years in the making, Big East Rewind. Chuck, man, did you ever think starting that up with Sonny that you guys would be 4 years in doing the Big East Rewind?
No, we did that as a kind of a fun thing from COVID to kind of pass the time a little bit. And I did a Georgetown podcast with a couple of the Georgetown guys, Gene Smith and Billy Martin. And we got to talking about the game. And I said, you know what, I could do this for Villanova. And Jason Frazier had a podcast at that time. So I said, let's try the Big East. And we've had over 150 shows, and we've had a who's who on from the Big East. From our first guest was Bill Raftery, and it went on from there. We interviewed Louis Conasecker in his kitchen. I mean, it's been a great ride. And the best thing about it, guys, is in the Big East Conference, if Villanova is a rival with Georgetown, and Georgetown's playing against North Carolina, we're rooting hard for Georgetown. North Carolina would never, ever, ever root for Duke or vice versa. It's a brotherhood. And then when you get to know these guys that you battled with, and they had the kind of the same stories that you had, just wore a different uniform. Reggie and I got into it at halftime at the Villanova championship game, and we're best buddies now today, which is great. So we hugged it out, and he's actually been with me to the Finn twice to see Villanova Georgetown. So, the relationships that you build and the brotherhood that is the Big East has gone on and on for 40 years or more.
Blessings. Randy, give the people that will be tuning in where they can find you on social, as well as a little bit more insight to Friends of Nova and how they can get involved with that.
Yeah, you can find me on social on my Twitter page, which is at Randy Foye, my X page. Or you can follow me on Instagram, where it's at Foye Boy, black icon. And then if you want to get involved with Friends of Nova, this is more for Villanova fans, Villanova alum. You can go on the website, or you can contact me, you can email me directly, you can express your interest. We have something, our menu is long. We have something for everyone, but we want you to spread awareness. We want you to know that, what we're doing within our athletic department as a third party, the official collective of our athletic department. What we're doing is something that is new, something that some folks may not have the appetite for, but it's a force and it's a must in college sports when you think about the way these student athletes are being compensated. They deserve it. They work really hard for it. And like I said, if you want to get involved and you want to join, just contact me and, at friendsandnova.com. And, I'll get back to you and let you know what you can do to help.
Bryant, take us home, brother. Any last before we sign off here on the Rewind?
Hey, I just want to say thank you guys for, coming out, and I know it's late and it's almost 11:15, and you guys did a fantastic job of coming out here and spending your night with us instead of with your family, and I appreciate it. I love both of you. Love my co-host or my host, Monty Moss, and I appreciate your time, man, and I love you guys, and let's rock and do this again down at the end. Appreciate Awesome show, Coach Monty. Awesome job. Proud of you. This is something that you expressed to me, I would say, probably 10 years ago. You was like, hey, watch out for me. And just to see you, be able to take these next steps in your career. Proud of you, man.
We got more ways, though, more work to be done. There's a lot of things I want to accomplish, not also in the podcast world, but in the broadcasting world. But as Brian says, got to keep putting in the work, got to be more disciplined and keep building that character. So that's what I'm on. As I tell people, I am on a mission from God. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Rewind_GSC, as well as follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, as well as Apple Podcasts at the Rewind_GSC. I want to give a special thank you to my producer, Chris, in 1990 Studios. Without him, this would not be possible. Thank you, Chris. I love what you do. Shout out to my Canadians. I want to give a special thank you to Chuck Everson, Randy Foye, and, of course, my co-host, Bryant Garvin. I'm Monty Moss, sign up on the Rewind. Enjoy March Madness, as well as enjoy Sweet 16 games tomorrow and as well as this weekend. Go Blue. Love you guys. See you next week.
Let's go!
I was checking out the scouting report, and I don't see nothing but bums. You and your whole entire world know that I am the one. You and your squad ain't got nothing for me. Your organization is looking stressed, and now that you haters is running from me, I know that you see that I'm highly blessed.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we live with your boy Coach G. Yeah, we live with your boy Monty.
You and your squad ain't got nothing for me. Your organization is looking stressed, and now that you haters is running from me,